We started our coaching journeys at similar time, but in very different routes. And I really want to know more about what sort of coach you are.
What sort of coach am I? That's a good question. So I'm an emotional intelligence coach, is how I describe myself. And that means I work with people to help develop their emotional intelligence to make them a more successful leader.
And what is it that you really love about that?
So I realised a number of years ago that successful leadership, leaders who were successful around me weren't necessarily the smartest people in the room from an IQ kind of intelligence perspective, but they were the ones that had the skills to empathise with others. They were inspirational, so they had qualities that other people found attractive or inspiring. They could articulate a vision that was really motivational, and it really motivated large numbers of people. And I thought to myself, well, what are those qualities? Because that's not something that you learn in an exam or a test, or you don't do a degree in that. So how have they learned to do that? And that's when I started looking into emotional intelligence and realised that that's what they had.
Isn't that just experience then?
Yes, it is actually, and part of the reading that I've done around emotional intelligence is that it develops over time, and that's the normal route to getting good emotional intelligence or high or balanced emotional intelligence. So you often find that the more mature person, man or woman, has higher or better developed EQ, but that's just a coincidence because life experiences, we learn through things like births, deaths, marriages, divorce. That all teaches us how to deal with ourselves and other people. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help accelerate that EQ timeline so that people can have more developed EQ earlier on in their lives without necessarily having to go through those life-changing experiences or sometimes what can be quite traumatic experiences.
Okay, and I'm curious then, what is it that makes you do this? What's your why?
My purpose? So I spent nearly 20 years working as an accountant and then as an auditor, and I saw a lot in large global corporations, and I saw a lot of leaders who were leading through fear, anxiety, judgment. There was quite a lot of pride as well, and maybe what people call ego. And it didn't look to me like it got the best out of their people. They got results, but people were going home feeling demotivated, exhausted, and there was quite a lot of burnout and stress, and I didn't see a lot of creativity or inspiration around me. I didn't feel it either. So I thought, what can I do? And then I discovered coaching, and I realised that coaching was a really great way to empower people, to help leaders be more empowering, to lead with less fear and less stress and anxiety, but to lead with more positivity and optimism and love and motivation. And so that's why I do it, because my honest belief is the next 50 to 100 years, the planet is going to change. It already has, and it's going to change again. We can't even imagine what this world is going to be like in 50 years. But the biggest corporations that are at play at the moment are going to be the ones that determine what the future looks like. I've got a 12-year-old son, Charlie. I'm really keen that the world that he lives in is a good one. It's a positive place to be. And I think the global leaders of today have got that responsibility in their hands. And if they're leading their organisations from fear and stress and anxiety, and people are feeling disempowered and demotivated, that doesn't look good for the future from my perspective. So I'm trying to make a difference. I'm trying to help leaders make a difference to their teams, to their organisations, to their communities that they serve, so that we've got people who are feeling more empowered and more valued.
And while you were spending all of this time in the corporate world, you obviously accrued a lot of experience, and you can hear that in your understanding of the culture. How does that experience help you as a coach, though? What does that bring?
Well, because I coach executives, so primarily CEOs and executives either individually or as groups, it's important that I get to understand what's going on for them so that I can empathise and coach them quickly, because executives don't have a lot of time, and nor should they be investing a lot of time in this, because it can be quite time intensive, some of the training that we do with them. So it's important that I can understand their environment quickly. I can understand the kind of problems that they're dealing with. I can understand the relationship dynamics. And I got all of that experience by working in a corporate environment for 18 years. I also worked a lot alongside executives and non-execs. I worked in audit, so that was an advisory role to those people. And that means that I understand the language, I understand the pressures, I understand the politics. So I can empathise, but I can also ask the right questions to really help unlock some of the answers to the problems that they might be experiencing.
So what I'd like to understand is, if I'm a leader, why should I bring emotional intelligence coaching into my organisation?
I think it's vital for organisations to understand the emotional intelligence culture, I guess, that's within their organisation, because so many studies have shown that emotional intelligence is at the source of a lot of success and a lot of outperformance and high performance in teams. So if a leader wants their team to perform well, if a leader wants their organisation to perform well, my advice would be to understand the culture from an emotional intelligence perspective, and then bring the tools and techniques that you need to develop EQ into the workplace. Have leaders become coaches, have leaders take up coaching training, have leaders be able to ask the right questions to be more curious, have leaders understand their teams from a personal perspective as well as from a technical perspective. I think it's necessary to create balance, but it's also necessary to create innovation, creativity, collaboration. So I think it's vital for organisations to take this on.